What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm doing a deep dive onto Jurassic Park the Miniatures game. This is by Exod Studio and Cimmeria Project. We'll talk a lot about that. You guys have been telling me quite often for a while now that this is a scam, so let's see how they're scamming you. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. And before we dive into this properly, I do want to let you know that I did reach out to them. I have not heard back from them yet, though. If I do, I will, of course, let you guys know as well. Now, with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So, Jurassic World miniature game. This was created by Cimmeria Project. We'll get into all of that here shortly. And it was last updated July 4th of 2022. We'll get into that as well. You'll see here in this image here, which can be updated, it has Exod Studio, Universal, and the Amberlin, and that's really it for the logos. I don't know what it had originally. If we scroll all the way down, we're going to go all the way down here to the very bottom here. It does say here that first of all, it has the team, right? And you'll see the Helen, I believe is how it is, and Pierre and Antonin. This is kind of like a group of people you'll see a lot of. We'll talk about that throughout. And really, it said the Exod Games team quite often. Who that is, we'll try and figure that out, of course. All right, and so then right here under risks and challenges under license, says Jurassic World Miniatures game is a license to Cimmeria Projects by Universal and Amberlin. Okay, so they do have kind of license here, and we'll kind of dig into that. This is kind of the more interesting part here. Jurassic World Miniatures game is a Cimmeria Project board game developed by Exod Games Sorrow under Cimmeria Project's direction. Cimmeria Project will publish it. What does that mean, right? How is this Cimmeria Project? How is this Exod? What happened? Well, to lay the groundwork, this launched June 13th, 2019. So they're at like 3.5 years, almost 4 years now that they're headed towards without anything to show for delivery. And in fact, a lot missing as well. And again, we'll dig into all of this. So if you look here, this is actually their 6th update. So pretty early on, they need to reassure fans, hey, we do have the license. So you'll see that beginning of the journey, a contract, and then they do post a partial view of the contract where that they did DocuSign and stuff like that. So all of that seems to be fairly legitimate, which is, good, of course. Exod Games here. In September, I spoke with Helen, CEO of Exod Games, about developing the game as a provider for Cimmeria Project. I came with the draft concept, and as she thought that the type of gameplay was innovative, she agreed to create the game with me. She asked the author of After the End in development, Antonin, to design the gameplay of the game, so all her team was dedicated to developing the game that we are presenting you. Now, the person speaking here is the owner of Cimmeria Projects, and as far as I can tell, the sole owner, the only person. So Cimmeria Projects is like a guy. Later on, we're going to show how they reference it to just he as Cimmeria Projects. And so they actually own, and it was very hard to find because if you type in Cimmeria Projects, you're not going to get anything. Cimmeria Project board games, you're not going to get nothing. There's nothing here except this, where he actually does list that as my company is specialized in the development of licensed products, and then it gives you this website. So if you go to this website, it's all in French. A lot of this is French only, so just be aware of that. But you can see that there is a website here that sells, different cards and, busts and figures and magazines and stuff like that. It's all a little weird, like these are essentially popular but not available and stuff, but I can only read so much into this too. But it seems, it kind of seems like a fairly dinky website, but at least they are actually making things, and you can kind of take a look at some of the different manga that they might have or something like that. But as you can see, it's mostly empty, right? There's not really a whole lot going on here. In fact, it seems to just be gone. Okay, so this is pretty much a non-starter. There's not really anything here that you can pretty much get. So this is a website that's up, which means they are paying for it. They may have already paid for the year or something. Who knows? This is pretty much a nothing, right? Okay, so this is nothing, and that actually takes into account this. So this was update 72 in August 18th, 2021 is when we're learning this. But if we scroll down here, we'll go back to those images. We had to have that's all translated. To add to the question that comments that we received lately, I would like to make a small comment on the contract of Jurassic World miniature game. From September 2018 to June 22, the contract was owned by Cimmeria Project and Exod Studio. Unfortunately, it was too time consuming for Cimmeria Project, which is one person, which is specialized in collectibles. When this contract renewal occurred, he, as in a singular person, he is Cimmeria Project. One guy decided to let us handle the entirety of the game and crowdfunding. Then in July 2020, the contract was renewed for 3 more years with only Exod Studio. In other words, this guy who just made, collectibles that is already pretty much out of business by the looks of it and has really no traces whatsoever, just had enough of this by July 2020. If you recall, this was launched June 2019. So a year later, and it was just bogged down already enough to where he was just out. So then it's Exod only. Really, Exod is the developer and the one running the campaign project, all this stuff. So it was launched under Cimmeria Project, but really this has been Exod's baby the entire time. They're doing a lot of the legwork. This was just him that had the license, that shared it, so they kind of were stuck with him. Now he's out of the picture completely. So from July 2020, it's all Exod games, though we're only finding out about that in August 18th of 2021. So, even though the entire creator or the originator or the person whose name is under created by was out, nothing was mentioned until later. Now, we do have more here. So once they actually got the license, so from 2020, where do we end up? Well, year's 2022 now, right? In fact, we're almost done with 2022. How many updates did they have in 2022? January 3rd, March 14th, April 15th, July 4th. 4 updates in a year is what they've had. 2 of them are backers only, so I can't look into that, but honestly, it's not good, right? If we dig into the latest one here, it starts talking about wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Wave 2 and 3 are shipping at the same time, so they're not different waves, but whatever. And it's really messy because they talk about how they're supposed to be on the boats and they got containers, and then suddenly there's nothing. There's no pictures of the things on trucks or anything like that. And in fact, there's a severe lack of normal pictures entirely. Now, maybe they're just busy. And I say that because they've been doing a lot of stuff otherwise. If you look here, Exod Studio, we're going to dive into that, launched their Facebook page January 19th, 2018. If you look on LinkedIn, it also says it was founded in 2018. So 2018 is the birth of Exod Games, which, if you recall, is just a bit over a year before suddenly this giant IP miniatures game was launched. So very new, very fresh, and really all they had done before then is like this really kind of dinky stuff. Like they have here after the end. So if you look here, you can actually see them. Like this is kind of the main 2 right here, and there's a picture of 3 of them down here as well. So this is pretty much Exod. And the reason I say this is Exod is because it's consistently the only people that are pretty much mentioned. I think everybody else is not full-time. Everybody else is not actually part of it and just helping out. So when it says here, a part of the team, very often at conventions, they'll bring on people that aren't actually members of the team. So the note here, they actually post when they went to Universal, 3 people, and it was Antonin, the designer, then Helen, the CEO, and then Pierre, who they call pretty much a sales guy. So these 3, and you'll see these 3 come up before. Okay, so the reason I think this is these 3 people is because if you look here, they have the exact same 3 people that Exod sent for After the End. After the End was actually a failed Kickstarter campaign that they had right beforehand. You can see it right here. This is actually launched by Exod Games. It's their only one that they've launched in Kickstarter, and it kind of failed to fund, but they kind of did some promotional work and tried to sell it and do this stuff at different events and whatnot. And again, the same 3 people. So really, this is Exod Games. It's 3 people. So there's 1 guy and 3 people, and that's really who you're dealing with by and large. Now, what else had they been doing? Well, after the end, which by the way, they were still working on in September 2019, they were talking about it, which, as you know, is after the miniature game launch. So they're already kind of still talking about that, but it gets more. They were also talking about this Go Blot, which is a game that they made in French and then kind of sent out to a few reviewers in French and stuff like that. A very, very small time thing. You can't get it really anywhere. It's not really for sale. You can kind of pick it up at their places. Then there's Nebula, which is a game by, whatever this company or person is, this author that they kind of worked with as well. Again, September 9th, 2019. And this is kind of a little early look. They updated the art and stuff like that, but they kept kind of working on this. Is January 6th, 2020 now. So all the time that they should have been working on the miniatures, they're working on all this other stuff, and it keeps going. Because there was also Miracles, which this is the only thing I can find reference to it, which is Panic in the Air, which will and Dagona Blade, which is the Go Blot. And this is all translated, but either way, they're saying, stay tuned for more on this. This is another game they were talking about. And then there's Ashes of London. This is another game we're talking about. You might notice an issue here. And this is all, look, September 9th, 2019. So again, after the Kickstarter, they're still talking about that. They're still doing all this new stuff that they have all these ideas and they make art and they do all this stuff and it doesn't really materialize into anything. Here's that Panic in the Air I mentioned. This was in 2019 again. So during this whole campaign and stuff, they've been doing it probably early before and after. They're involved in a lot of stuff. They even did the French release of the Escape the Dark series. So anyway, they have been doing a lot. Now, this is their website, and our games, they only list one. So they're not listing any of those other ones. This is a picture of, I can't even I'll have to wait till it transfers again, but it's the After the Dark or whatever, After the End. But if you click there, it just opens up the image. So it's nothing really. I have a bajillion tabs open, so it's gonna be slow. But no, they only list this. This is the only thing they list. And if you scroll down here, they show all these other companies, all these licenses, and really, this is the only two. This is at Universal and Amblin. This Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, Rainbow. Notice you didn't see anything from that. Now, I don't know if they're associating themselves with Cimmeria Project that did busts in the past, and that's what they're doing is these collectibles and these busts and stuff from Sony Online and Microsoft and, Warner Brothers. But as far as I can tell, this is all bogus too. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave Exod Studio? Where does that leave Jurassic Park, the miniature game? And where does that leave backers? Well, it leaves them without a game, obviously. What I think is going on here is actually really easy to kind of show off. Early on, you'll see updates like this one that show off quite a bit of new art and even some back-end stuff here. Now, this is important because before this, all they had shown was a 3D printer on their Facebook account a few years back and, some miniatures and stuff like that, which is really just, a little bit of art and some 3D printing, and you got yourself what looks to be a game. These steel molds, right? A whole steel mold thing will cost around $5,000 to $7,000. It is not something that you fake. It's not something you do to scam people. Why would you spend money? Once you got the money, you just scoot right off, right? They have been updating. They continue to update. Now, their updates are far from what they used to be, right? If we go to a more recent one, even just their latest one here, and this is what you get, right? Just a little bit of text, no images, no pictures of anything like that. What I think they've done recently, and I don't think this was ever intended to be a scam, first of all. Like I said, you wouldn't string it on this long. It gives you nothing. It makes you no money. And in fact, you normally would just try to shotgun as much campaigns as you could to get money as quickly as you can and skedaddle the heck out of there. Which may have been what Cimmeria Projects did. I don't know why he changed his name from before, but whatever. Maybe that guy just got it and was like, yeah, you know what? I'm noping out. Here, Exod, good luck. But obviously, it's not a real thing right now. It's very easy to show a picture of stuff being loaded up. The factories give you tons of images and will take images upon request as well. They'll be the best images ever, but you've all seen them. And I've even worked now with companies that do this. It's very easy to just be like, hey, can we get a picture of this? Or, hey, you typically don't have to ask it because they're just constantly sending you pictures. Hey, we did this, here's our red wax, here's this, here's that. And you don't get any of that here. I think what they're doing now is spinning plates, which I see often in a lot of campaigns. You see it on stuff like Storm Sunder and all these really long-winded campaigns. Not all of them. There are some that still do beefy updates with tons of information and proof that they're working here. But I think it's very obvious to me that Exod Studios is not spending 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week on Jurassic World anymore. That is definitely not the case. This is something that just kind of chills and all the money's gone, is my assumption. And so then they'll try and do new stuff to get money or somehow get it or do it as they can't afford it through other means or whatever. I mean, they raised 318,000 euro. Now that was, back when as well. Of course, now it is, almost end of 2022 and that money's gone. There's no way that they are paying people what they need to be paid. Also updating art based off the changing IP stuff that they have to do as Universal continues to release movies, and also paying for the steel molds and all that stuff. Like, all that costs money, and it soaks it all up. All that money goes away. So you're stuck here with them. Instead of saying that, and I don't know if it's a French thing. I don't know if it's and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, I don't know if as a culture, maybe they're a bit more proud when it comes to not so much asking for help, but just pretending things are okay. Different societies and cultures kind of lean different ways on something like that, right? And I feel like the big thing to do here is just pretend everything's fine, and then you're going to get that one update suddenly at some point says everything is not fine. In fact, it hasn't been fine. And that's what we're going to get here. But this is just spinning plates. It's just trying to keep everything spinning. And 5 plates all on poles. You've seen the GIF. Maybe I'll put it up here, just to show this is what they're doing. They're just it's 4 updates in 2022 of just BS. That's all it really is. I'm not saying that they're necessarily lying. What I'm saying is that they're making it, or trying to make it seem like you're doing something. Did you ever have a school project where you had update on different things? Maybe it was college, and you would just kind of BS the updates and then do it all at the end. Kind of like that. You can be like, oh yeah, we did this, or oh, we can talk about this now. And you just sit there and think what could we write an update to make it seem like we're working on this and this is still a thing. And this is the kind of stuff you get, is just a quick bit of text, no images, no nothing, no proof of anything actually moving on beyond, hey, we're ready to manufacture. Earlier they shared some pictures of, again, some early prototypes of translations and stuff like that, but that's not mass production at all. And you can't deliver without mass production. And you don't get previews of translations after mass production. So, it's basic common sense, right? So this is, I don't think, meant as a scam. I don't think it ever was intended to be one. I don't think it was meant to pull the wool over your eyes. I think they did have a license. They were trying to make this. It obviously did not work out. People have tried to contact Exod to no avail. It's not just me that's not getting a response. Pretty much everybody's not getting a response. It's because the money's gone, guys. There's no way after 4 years their 300,000 is still there. Not after actually trying to make the game. Maybe if they had scammed it, they could have put it somewhere. But no, they actually tried to make this stupid thing. I think the overall point, to reiterate, which I always try to do anytime I show something like this off, is if it's a first-time company or early company, remember they were founded in 2018, and a little over a year now they're involved in launching this Jurassic World miniatures, board game with no experience in doing miniature board games at all and stuff like that, is to pretty much not back. If you do, just realize you're donating. A new company that suddenly gets success, and the 300,000 was definitely a success for them for something that that's more influx of money than I imagine they'd ever seen in their little kind of dinky French-only games that they were selling, right? The Goblin one and stuff like that. There's growing pains as a company even from that, but there's also growing pains from dealing with something like Universal, right? Which the Cimmeria Projects only sort of kind of did, and that was on a very small scale for a bust or a collectible of some kind, as opposed to a giant, miniature war game that they were trying to make here. So, it was bound to kind of end up this way, sadly. That's I guess my thoughts on it. I don't think we'll be seeing Exod again. I don't think you will necessarily be seeing Jurassic World. Perhaps miracles will happen. If you disagree with me, if you have any more information, again, please let me know. If you were a part of this, I am sorry. I believe I did show this off. I don't remember exactly what I said when I showed it off. Hopefully it was a little cautionary, Because I would really hate to show off something and have somebody be like, oh man, I want that, and now they're out of money because of something I did. Like, that would be really unfortunate. So hopefully that's not the case. But even when it goes to showing off all of these, I feel like this is mostly BS for Exod. I think Exod and Cimmeria games are kind of like this, where they're saying, oh, because we're involved in Cimmeria games, we're also involved in all this other stuff that maybe they did a bust of somewhere or something like that, which it says with it in the licensing field. I don't know what the licensing field is. They trust us. I don't know. I don't know. If they worked with Sony Online Interactive Entertainment, I apologize. SIE. I did SOE like the old video games. They never once posted about it as a company. So I mean, I went through their entire Facebook history. So yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a thing. This seems a little sketch, right? A little weird. Their Facebook link doesn't work on their webpage, right? Stuff like that. I mean, come on, really? It's just the lack of professionalism, the lack of any kind of traction, I think, tells you everything you need to know about your probability of getting this game at this point. And of course, those probabilities get lower and lower every day that passes. So yeah, another bust for sure. They have their license for 3 years, so until 2023. So perhaps they'll have something. If they don't deliver something, they might actually have a breach of contract thing. I'm not sure. People have tried to contact Universal. They don't respond. They don't care. I mean, whatever. I'm sure they got their cut, right? So what's it to them? Just unfortunate all around, because it looked like something that was definitely actually a passion project, something that, you know, got the designer excited about, and the guy who had the license excited about, but he's noped out of it, and everybody else is ghosting everybody. So, and it's been years. I mean, it's just is what it is. Always be vigilant. Always do your research as you can. It's hard to do research like this because it's so hard to find anything, like with broken links and stuff like that. And I mean, all this like trying to find this stuff is next to impossible. It's all like either it's never mentioned ever, or it's like under different companies, you know, like where they launched their last game after the end, that was under Exod Games here, right? And of course, this was under Cimmeria Project, which like isn't even a thing. It said you get linked to his website in an update that's all in French with no English translations or anything like that, which seems to be a dead website as well. I mean, it's guys, this is like, it's like chasing ghosts. It's really what it is. It's like looking at things that used to be alive and trying to find remnants of it on the internet. That's pretty much where we're at here on this. So yeah, anyway, that's that. Again, let me know if you have any other information. The next update or next video will be a news update. So we'll go over what's currently on Kickstarter, what's going on there. I was going to include this in a regular one, but there was such a deep well of, you know, what the heck's going on here that I really wanted to kind of give this the attention it deserved. But let it be a cautionary tale, guys. I mean, you see IP, you see a new creator, you should move and go the other way. Let them make a regular game first. That's already difficult enough. Making these games is hard and it's expensive. Thousands of components, and then you're sending it to every country in the freaking world just about, and you know, it's a nightmare upon a nightmare. I mean, just getting all the VAT laws right can be difficult for companies. And I mean, these are companies that deliver stuff all the time. So imagine then doing retail contracts and, you know, the logistics of, you know, being able to just distribute everything at the same time and working with 3PLs and stuff like that. And you're going to put a licensor in on that too, and suddenly make them explode. Like ideally a company kind of gradually gets there, not just, you know, dive into the deep end, try not to drown, because sometimes you get something like Exod that drowns, and it's just unfortunate for everybody. Drowning's not fun. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.